Hey, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is the Joy Show, and I'm your host, Barbara Jean, and I am so excited to be here with you today. And I want to begin with our land acknowledgement. The sacred land has held for thousands of years common stories that live in the fabric of who we are as a nation. And we'd like to acknowledge and thank the original caretakers and knowledge keepers of this territory. The Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and all other nations that we are seated on today. We give thanks to the nations recorded and unrecorded, acknowledged and unacknowledged, who also share the responsibility for this territory. We honor the Dish with One Spoon Treaty and our responsibility to peaceably share and care for the resources that surround us. We are honored to be on this meeting place that many First Nation, Inuit, and Métis people from across Turtle Island call home. We also acknowledge that as we continue to grow and expand on these lands, there is still unresolved and dangerous inequality and discrimination toward our BIPOC and 2S LGBTQ plus family. By making these acknowledgements, we strive to be allies and take an active part in reconciliation. We recognize our oneness, we realize our history, and we choose to create a new reality. We are one. Well, I am so excited today to have with me David Mooney, who has created Badlook. He's a Toronto-based artist and producer known for his honest and gentle genre-blending music. Badlook's artistry resonates with an anxious generation navigating a tumultuous era. Whew, sounds like the world we're living in today, doesn't it? Badlook music confronts life's complexities with sincerity, twisted beauty, and hedonistic excess. Ooh, David, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, I'm so glad that you're here. Now, you have a new song out today, which we're going to play a little bit later, and it's called I See
I
Ghosts.
see ghosts.
I
Yeah.
See Ghosts. So tell me a little bit about your musical journey. Like, how did you get here?
Um, I was put in piano lessons when I was like 6, and I quit first day. Um, wasn't into that, and then a couple years later, one of my stepmother's friends brought his guitar over, and he just taught me how to play something in drop D. So it's a different tuning on the guitar where you can't really hit a wrong note.
Oh,
And
nice.
he showed me how to play something with my thumb, and I was
Oh,
like, little hands, a big guitar. I was like, don't really know what I'm doing, but I was like, you can just make things sound good. And I was like, oh, this is fun.
oh,
And
okay.
like, that's kind of what started with it. And then I got super into guitar lessons for a few years. Eventually, kind of got better than the teacher that I had and stopped doing that. Started playing in bands in early high school, 14, 15, in like a metal hardcore ish, like heavier music genre.
Hmm.
And then my second band was by the name of Speak of the Devil, was actually pretty big in the city. We'd play all like the big metal tours that would come through,
Awesome.
and through that, in the studio when we were recording that stuff, the engineer at the time, producer, would show me how to do everything on the computer, and then kind of would I'd be like, hey, can I edit this or do that, and then got super into that, and then kind of got into like electronic music and hip hop, and did that for a long time while working in a studio, and eventually just kind of came back to this place of where I kind of grew up with heavy music, like
Yeah.
like metal influences, but with the electronic music and the hip hop, and just kind of a blend of like everything that I've ever like been inspired by.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And I've had the pleasure of being at one of your concerts, one of your shows. It was brilliant. I was likely the oldest person in the room, but really, really loved it. You are quite the showman. So tell me about your lyrics. Like the first song I listened to on Spotify was Violet.
Mm-hmm.
And that one really, I was like, wow, Violet, Violet, what is one? I know that we're going nowhere, the flowers slowly dying, and I won't be, no, I won't be there when the violets turn to violence. Where did that come from, or do you know?
I wrote that with one of my good friends, Alex Hoffman, who's like a brilliant lyricist,
Hmm.
and I just had this idea of like uh, the violent with the N in brackets. So it's all in capitals. The N was in brackets, so you could switch out. It could either be violet or violent.
Yeah.
And I had this idea of like making a project that was um, really heavy and like violent, I guess, and then mixed with like pretty. And I think that that song was the first good like release because it goes into this like very like beautiful acoustic nice part that's softer than the rest, and like that was the contrast that I was kind of going for.
And it kind of looks at the contrast of life in general that we're all living, especially at the moment.
Hmm. I was also a few years ago in a past relationship in kind of an abusive situation, and I was just had this idea of like, I'm not gonna do that again, and like I'm not gonna be there when the flowers turn, when the violets turn to violets.
Wow, I like that. That's interesting. I think sometimes like when I listen to the lyrics of music, I'm always curious as to how an artist got there. Like
Hmm.
what caused that particular phrasing. So that one's really interesting. Now your new song, I See Ghosts. Lately I've been cold and lately you've been distant. Lately all I want to breathe is fire and smoke. No one knows that I see ghosts. No one knows that I see ghosts. We're just trying to meet our ghosts.
Mm. Um, Kind of came from a few different places, I guess.
Hmm.
Um, the I guess like the verses are just kind of descriptive of like a relationship that's falling apart
Hmm.
due to both people kind of. I mean, from where I wrote it at the time, being like addicted to drugs or like
Hmm.
partying too much and like watching each other kind of fall apart.
Yep.
And the chorus is like, we're just gonna take and take and take to take away the aches and pains and waste away to nothing. It's like we said that we'd slow down, and like it's a, but no, like we didn't.
Right.
And so it kind of lends to just like something that's falling apart in front of your eyes, while like everything around you is kind of just
Continuing.
yeah, and you're kind of in a place where like all I want to breathe is fire and smoke. Like I just want to sit there and like smoke all day.
I think too, like when I think about even my own life journey, the challenges that we're faced with sometimes cause us to find ways to distract from the pain of it.
Hmm.
Whether it's alcohol, sex, drugs, whatever it is, it's like we're we're not able to be with what is at the moment, and so we find escape routes.
Yeah.
And I know for myself, my ghosts would be, my own self from the past.
Hmm.
When I write something and I go back there and it's like, oh man, that's what I thought or what I believed at the time.
Yeah.
And being able to reflect, I think for me right now, is I'm in a new place. So, how about um, your journey? It sounds like you've had some real hardship.
I have. Um, I've struggled with addiction problems in the past.
Mhm.
The song, like me, like when I was writing it originally, like it was like the like we're just tripping every night to meet our ghosts. It's kind of like we're kind of seeing how far we can push it. So like, and like we don't care if like we die or whatever.
Yeah.
That was kind of where it came from. I've been, yeah, I grew up with a family of like, it was like half my family was like really clean and normal, I guess you'd say, and then the other half was you know uh, came from Scarborough, like poor poverty, alcoholism, drug addiction, just chaos. Kind of.
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
childhood was like very chaotic.
Okay.
With with my father was a very bad alcoholic until I was about about 7 or 8 when he
Yeah.
cleaned up, and then um, my stepmother, God rest her soul, kind of like saved him, and then had to deal with her. She ended up becoming a crystal meth addict for 10 years, and like being like a 8 to 14-year-old
Wow.
kid, just like seeing that, and not really knowing what's going on, but just seeing someone kind of just like waste away in front of you is like really like I've never been one to like have like PTSD about things, but it's like it definitely just like fuels you and like puts you in a place where you can look at things from like a different perspective, you know?
Yeah.
Because like I don't like judge, and I just I love everything, you know?
You do.
And you don't like, I just look at it from that point of view, you know? I don't, and like, yeah. And there's, I write kind of from a place of that. It also just kind of comes out of me.
Hmm.
And then sometimes I kind of figure out what it's about after.
I think that happens a lot, actually, that there's almost like a stream of consciousness thing that happens, that this stuff is falling out.
Yeah.
I wrote a poem years ago that when I read it now, it's like, whoa. It's like there was a part of me that knew my capability, but at
Mhm.
the time I was in so much pain I couldn't see it. So
Yeah,
it
yeah,
was like this dichotomy of the here and there that
yeah.
both existed at the same time. Well, it's amazing that, coming through the life that you've come through, that you have this very warm personality. Like, I've really enjoyed getting to know you
Yeah.
because,
I likewise.
yeah,
I came from a place of love, like you know, you hug and kiss your parents when you leave, and you say I love you constantly to everybody,
yeah,
and you know, and yeah. I mean, it's weird. People think that people are always like the best art comes from when you're the saddest, but I mean,
not
for me, it's
necessarily.
always been like when I'm in a happy place that I can go to the dark and like write about the dark stuff,
Hmm.
because I kind of try to. The lyrics aren't like, I appreciate, but I don't like lyrics that are kind of like feel bad for me kind of shit.
Hmm.
Or
Yeah,
sorry,
that's fine.
and
Hey, we
so I
have a
kind
show
of,
on here called Ministers Talking Shit.
oh, sick, love it.
So,
So I kind of, I mean, the bad look, like I guess you'd say the brand. I don't really like that word, but is kind of like a nonchalant way of talking about things that are hard to talk about,
right.
and like coming from a place of like, oh, I've done that, you know, and
Yeah.
I can look at it from like up here, as opposed to being, you know, like feel sorry for me kind of thing.
I think that's an empowered place to come from,
Mm-hmm.
like to sit back and go, yeah, I've been here and I'm not there now.
Yeah,
And in this new place, I can look at that and I can see what it was, and I can sort of juxtapose it to my current reality, which is so much different.
yeah.
I
I
like
find
that.
that's definitely true, and especially, and even when I do fall back into those similar patterns, when I'm feeling sorry for myself, I don't write music.
Right.
You know, I can only write music when I'm feeling like
Happy,
who I am.
excited, yeah,
Yeah,
authentic.
authentic. Yeah,
Authentic. And that's what this show is about, is authenticity. It doesn't matter where a person's been, where they are, where they're going.
of course.
The truth is that all of us are unique and special,
Yeah,
and we have our own brand of life that we bring to the table.
hmm,
And so it's exciting to share that, whatever it is.
for sure.
It's all good.
Yeah, I used to kind of like pussyfoot around being, I don't know. People don't. Some people are like, oh, you can't say that. You know, you can't write that. Like, who wants to listen to that? And it was when
Yeah.
I started my album that will probably be coming out next year. It's called Beast,
Yeah.
and I had this song called Angel Dust, and I
Hmm.
just had some lyrics, and um, the lyric is um, come on over, come on over, come on over, make me want to die. And
Mm.
it just, and like, and I said to the producer, I was like, is that okay? You know? And he was like, dude,
Yeah.
like, I didn't know that you had that in you. Like, can I see more of that?
Yeah.
And it was the first time that someone that I like kind of looked up to was like, go as far as you can, and we can reel it in afterwards. But don't be afraid to do that, because like
Yeah.
that's where the truth comes from.
And that's where the gems are. That's
Yeah.
that's where you find the gold. It doesn't happen when you're playing safe.
No, it doesn't.
Nothing
And
great happens
and
there.
people can hear that, you know?
In a minute.
Yeah.
In a minute.
And I mean, playing it safe, you can sing about anything. But playing, if you play it safe, it's not like you don't have to write about suicide or whatever to not play it safe. Like you can write about being happy, but if you're not being honest about it, or like
Yeah.
then it doesn't translate.
Well, it's that journey of being authentic moment to moment, knowing all of it has value.
Mm-hmm.
The deep pits that we sometimes go into and the absolute highs, all of them have value because they add or subtract or move us into something new, but all of it has value,
Yeah.
which is absolutely remarkable.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. I love that. So, as you're progressing along this beautiful life journey that does not have a destination, but is only ever the now experience, how are you feeling about life today? And where do you think you want to go with your producing, but also with your work as an artist? Because your singing is brilliant.
Oh,
I love
thank you.
it.
Um, I'm not wired to do anything else. I um, the only other job I've ever really had was that I actually liked was like cooking, like on like line cook work,
Hmm.
because it's very much like editing or producing on a computer. Like you kind of have to just like chop something, do the same thing, like crossfade, like duplicate whatever. And it was very just like do this well and do it a million times over.
Yeah.
And once you get good at it, like you're in this like flow state thing where
Yeah.
your inspiration and your talent and your like ability and skill are all just kind of meeting up. And it's like I've gotten to this place with myself now where if I hear something in my head, I can immediately make it on the computer, or like make it like I can hear it within like a minute, you know.
Well, I gotta share some of my stuff with this guy. Some of my words, because I think some of my words could use a little music underneath them.
Oh, let's
Um,
write some bangers.
let's write some. Let's write some good, juicy stuff. Well, that's the thing, I think sometimes we get in this box of, I can't do this, I can't do that, I can't do the other thing. And I think what's wonderful with someone like you is that instead of telling yourself what you can't do, you're focusing on what you can and
Yeah,
also what you love,
yeah,
right? Like, this is the only thing you can do. This is the only thing I can do, right? And it's like, I think when we find our lane and we live there,
yeah.
there's something really wonderful that happens. It's not like having a job, it's like it's your life.
I think it translates to everything else that you do though if you have that
Oh,
and you
yeah,
are confident and good at something. Like the love from that translates into caring about everything else that you do.
yeah, yeah.
And I think that that's a powerful thing to be in that place.
Hmm.
You
Yeah,
know,
I agree. I
because
agree.
you're able to take care of everything else around you with ease and like with that mentality.
Well, I love RuPaul's Drag Race, and on there when he says, if you can't love yourself, you can't love anybody else. And I think that is the whole thing. We can only bring into our relationships, our work, our friendship, who we actually are, and
Yeah,
we have to like ourselves at some level in order to do that.
yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
So you've had lots of hard experiences in life, and
Yeah, those were just a few to name a few, and
yeah.
yeah. Sorry, continue.
Continue. Let's bat that back over
Oh no, no,
there.
I'm willing to go into
Yeah,
whatever you
it's
want to.
just, I know you've had some physical traumas as well. Do you want to talk about that at all? Or,
Yeah, sure. I there's a song on that album that I was just speaking on called "Make It Hurt,"
hmm.
and first line is "bottled to the head." Like, wow, I should probably get myself checked out. And it's do your worst, make it hurt. And it's about I was stabbed at uh, my sister's 16th birthday party, which is crazy to
Whoa.
think about.
How
But
old were you?
I was 24,
Wow.
and me and my friends were kind of just sitting on the front deck, making sure nothing got like too crazy. And there was like a disturbance out back, and somebody like some guy like hit my sister, and I I hit him,
Hmm.
and not proud of it, but I think I might have hurt him, and one of his friends smashed a bottle on my head and stabbed me 4 times with it.
Whoa.
And it was like 0 to 100 like in a second, and the one of the I've always kind of known this about myself, but it's like I don't go into like I don't panic when things like that happen.
Mm-hmm.
I go into like survival mode, I guess, and like trying to think smart about it.
Yeah.
And like I just had to like sit on the lawn, and like all my friends and my dad is like, like you're trying to take care of other people while you're trying to live. Yeah. And I just like what do I do? What do I do? And I just told everyone like take your shirt off, roll it up, and like put it against my thing so I don't fucking bleed out,
Yeah.
And luckily my the girl that I was in a relationship at the time was a very level-headed person. Like the ambulance gets there, and I love paramedics. Like they literally were just like, where is it? They just have these like sticky like new skin things, and they just go like wipe, boom. It's like, okay, you're not bleeding anymore. Like don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Throw me in the ambulance, and like the whole time I'm in the ambulance, I'm like am I gonna am I gonna die? Like
am I gonna die?
Like asking, and they're like, just don't think about that, like just get me there. And my humor is what gets me through these things. Like you have to get the MRI, and they got to put something up the rear end. I'm like, well, at least can buy me a drink first. And the nurse comes in, and she's like, honey, she's like, the doctors don't like understand. She's like, stop trying to make jokes. I'm like, no.
Absolutely not. Yeah. Good for you. Because I think humor has a way of cutting through anxiety, and it can help to bring us into more of a collective place of possibility, and it calms things down.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to me when somebody is in huge trauma like you were, and there's that calmness where you end up letting everybody else know what they need to do.
Yeah.
My brother is like that. He had his arm caught in he was working in a lumber mill, and they didn't have a guard on this thing that cut the planks. And so he lost the whole inside of his arm here. And right away, one of the guys grabbed some dirty old rag off the floor covered in sawdust. And Barry's like, you're not using that on me.
Yeah.
And he's like, get a belt and put it around my arm. But when I saw him in the hospital, yeah, exactly. And then by the time he got to the hospital, when I saw him, he was gray. He'd lost so much blood. But it's like his common sense is probably what saved his arm, because they were able to save it, which is
that's
numerous surgeries. But it's interesting how some people can maintain that sense of awareness as to what needs to happen, even in the moment where they've been so deeply hurt.
Yeah.
Physically, which is quite remarkable.
Yeah, it's a weird place to be in, and I think it was always just kind of from my upbringing. Like, whenever something really bad would happen at like a family thing, or at a growing up in chaos, everyone's drinking and things happen, I would always just kind of like grab the kids.
Mm-hmm.
Like regardless of how old I was, and just kind of like like let's go, like let's go somewhere quiet, and like so you don't have to deal with it, because like I'm okay with dealing with it, but
you don't need to.
I don't.
Well, that's pretty great. That's pretty great.
Yeah, I don't know. There's some things that you can't help, and I think if you can, then you should, and you should be able to like know that in the moment.
Exactly. I love that. Well, on that note, Deja, how about we play the song I See Ghosts, and then we're going to go to a commercial break, and you're watching the New Thought Media Network. This is The Joy Show, and after the break, we will be back. Enjoy.
Lately I've been cold, lately you've been distant. Lately all I wanna breathe is fire and smoke. Lately you've been coming down, and lately I've been missing you. We're on a mission every night to meet our goals. On a mission every night to meet our goals. We're just gonna take and take and take and take away the aches and pains and waste away to nothing. We said that we slow down, we said that we slow down, but no. We're just gonna take and take and take to take away the aches and pains and waste away to nothing. We said that we slow down, we said that we slow down, but no. I'm just trying to meet my goals. Lately I've been feeling old, and lately you've been slipping. Lately we've been watching our world go up in smoke. And lately you've been bringing me down, and lately I've been dissing you. We're just tripping every night to see our goals. On a mission every night to meet our goals. We're just gonna take and take and take and take away the aches and pains and waste away to nothing. We said that we slow down, we said that we slow down, but no. We're just gonna take and take and take to take away the aches and pains and waste away to nothing. We said that we slow down, we said that we slow down, but no. Yeah, we're just trying to meet our goals. No one knows that I see ghosts. No one knows that I see ghosts. We're just gonna take and take and take and take away the aches and pains and waste away to nothing. We said that we slow down, we said that we slow down, but no. We're just gonna take and take and take to take away the aches and pains and waste away to nothing. We said that we slow down, we said that we slow down, but no. But no. Yeah, we're just trying to meet our goals.
I was made in the image. I was made in the image of love. I was made in the image. I was made in the image of love. Here and now I can see I was made beautifully. I was made in the image. I was made in the image of love.
Wish we'd all stop acting like we're strangers if we could see underneath. We are one family, and it don't matter where you come from. Every heart beats to the rhythm of one love. One love, one love. Every heart beats to the rhythm of one love. Every heart.
Watch me change when you change the way you look at things. The things you look at change. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change.
Blessings, everybody. My name is Jafon Seeley. Could you imagine what is actually possible when we start honoring and recognizing our inherent worth, realizing that we are that which is assisting and co-creating our experience? And with that understanding, start recognizing that every human, every individual, everything that we interact with reflects that same inherent worth.
It's not about an adventure, it's about the atmosphere of the consciousness of adventure, the lifestyle of adventure. How many people would say that their lifestyle is adventurous?
My name is Lisa Benson. I'm a diversity, equity, and inclusion consultant and the author of Anchored in Bias, Fired Over White Tears. It's a book detailing my lived experiences with workplace bias and what fueled my passion for normalizing conversations about differences and creating safe spaces for everyone to bring the best version of themselves to life every day.
Welcome back. I'm Barbara Jean, and this is The Joy Show here on the New Thought Media Network. And my guest here today is David Mooney and his wonderful project, Badlook. Music and life and all of it is good stuff. So the album that you're coming out with next year, what is some of the other music that you have planned for that, or where is that? Where are you on that project?
It's completely finished. I actually finished it like probably about a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago. I did it with an amazing producer in Toronto. He now lives in LA. His name's Dejan Martineau. And he was actually one of the catalysts for me going back into making like heavier kind of styles of music. I've had a lot of people be like, "Oh, your music sounds like Nine Inch Nails," and I never really like listened to them until like a few years ago, and then it became like my absolute favorite thing. And like listening to it, it's like kind of have the same kind of like sensibilities where like you play major chords, like happy sounding music, but in the order, if you do it right, it kind of has this like melancholic kind of like, especially if you put dark things over happy sounding things with like heavy distorted noises. I find it actually makes things sound heavier than if you use like minor chords or like heavier sounding.
And it's interesting that you're mixing sort of the heavy and light together, because isn't that life?
Yeah.
I don't care how great life is, whatever's going on, we all have those bumps in the road, the ups and the downs. So really, really important that we have the ability to, ride the wave, do what's there to be done, and don't second guess it.
Yeah. The second guessing something is like something that I never really did. Which is, I hate, like, I get it, but I hate when like an artist or a producer is like, "Oh, I'm never gonna put this out. Like, this is wrong. Like, this is bad." It's like, I've always just been like, "Oh, I like it. Leave it. Like, don't touch it. Like, on to the next song."
That's actually a really healthy thing. I think that's what gets a lot of artists in trouble, and probably leads to the demise of some, is they stop being who they are because some producer or somebody comes along and says, "No, here's what will sell."
I think you're totally right. And I think that I mean, I'm not an expert, but I feel like that happens mostly with people that don't create their own stuff. or like are really good at like singing, and then so they're told to do something, but they have no real input on what they're singing.
What they're
You know?
singing. Yeah. One of, there's a number of artists out there that I don't particularly enjoy because I don't like the message of their music.
Mm.
Not the tone or anything like that. It's like the voice is gorgeous, but you know, this, oh, he done me wrong stuff, or, oh, you know, I keep phoning him and phoning him and phoning him and he's not calling me. I'm like, come on, let's get over that.
Yeah.
We're not victims and we don't need to act like we are. And I think that's some of the stuff that I really don't like. So I love your music because it has a raw, fresh approach to the current reality that we're all faced with. We're living in tumultuous times, as you had mentioned in there. There's anxiety, there's a lot of things going on that people are struggling with. And I think the way through it, and I don't know, you can tell me for you, but for me, my anxiety lessens when I am doing the work I love.
Yeah.
So, and even if I'm feeling a little bit sick at the time, if I, you know, start doing a service or start doing a show, right away, everything goes away until it's done. And then
Lately I've been cold. Lately you've been distant. Lately all I wanna breathe is fire and smoke. Lately you've been coming down. And lately I've been missing you. We're on a mission every night to meet our ghosts. On a mission every night to meet our ghosts. We're just gonna take and take and take and take away the aches and pains and waste away to nothing. We said that we slow down, we said that we slow down, but no, we're just gonna take and take and take to take away the aches and pains and waste away to nothing. We said that we slow down, we said that we slow down, but no, I'm just trying to meet my goals. Lately I've been feeling old, and lately you've been slipping. Lately we've been watching our world go up in smoke. And lately you've been bringing me down, and lately I've been dissing you. We're just tripping every night to see our ghosts. On a mission every night to meet our ghosts. We're just gonna take and take and take and take away the aches and pains and waste away to nothing. We said that we slow down, we said that we slow down, but no, we're just gonna take and take and take to take away the aches and pains and waste away to nothing. We said that we slow down, we said that we slow down, but no, yeah, we're just trying to meet our goals. No one knows that I see ghosts. No one knows that I see ghosts. We're just gonna take and take and take and take away the aches and pains and waste away to nothing. We said that we slow down, we said that we slow down, but no, we're just gonna take and take and take to take away the aches and pains and waste away to nothing. We said that we slow down, we said that we slow down, but no.
and we're back. Technical difficulties. Don't you love it? You just got to go with the flow. It is what it is, but we're back and you got a little more music. So that's right on. And I have no idea what we were talking about when we disappeared.
I don't remember either.
So I think I was asking you about projects coming up. Is there
Oh,
anything in particular that you're thinking about that you want, like messages you want to get out to people or whatever? Like, is
um,
there?
yeah, I think I think just like on every like post I do on Instagram or whatever, I've started to like just say like my DMs, my messages are open, my inbox is open if you need to talk about it, because I write a lot about addiction, struggling, like whatever,
Mhm.
and if anyone needs, like anything, like I'm not a therapist, but if you catch something in my music, which I would hope you would, if I get messages from people that are like, I don't even like this song, but I love you for just saying that.
Yeah.
And I'll have a conversation with somebody, like not about music, just about whatever.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how open people are when you literally just leave like a thing like that, and they're like,
Yeah.
like I haven't, like some people are like, I haven't said this to anyone else, and it's like, it's like, wow, it's like I'm just taken aback. I'm like, thank you so much for sharing this.
Well, I think because of the honesty and authenticity in your music, in the lyrics specifically, because I printed out your lyrics because I really wanted to read them. But I think when we look at that, we see something in you that may or may not be heard in the song. When the music's playing, you can get caught up in the rhythm of it and stuff and
Yeah, yeah,
maybe
yeah.
miss the message. But when you look at the lyrics, all of a sudden there's a whole different level of understanding. And so that's going to touch people. And good for you to be willing to have a conversation.
Yeah, it's like I feel like at first I thought I was like, fuck, like, am I gonna be on the hook for like someone's well being and stuff like that? And it hasn't been that at all. Like it's kind of like,
Yeah.
they're like, regardless of what I say, everyone's just kind of very like appreciative, and they kind of just leave it at that.
Yeah, I think, well, that's one of the things I've noticed even in my work, because I do a lot of coaching and stuff like that with people. And it's not, I can't solve anybody's problems. I can't fix anything for anybody,
Yeah,
but I can listen.
yeah, and like I can offer my input of like
Yeah, my
how
perspective.
I would possibly go about doing something like that if I was in their shoes, or like
Yeah.
something like that.
And because you've kind of walked a similar path, you can
Yeah.
talk about what that looks like or whatever from your own perspective, which
Yeah.
is wonderful.
Yeah, I'm not, I'm not ashamed of anything that I've ever done. Like, I've been really messed up a few times, and I don't care. I don't care what anyone thinks about me. Like, I put love out, and if I don't get it back, then that's on you.
Yeah, exactly. You can only give who you are into any situation.
Yeah,
And if a person can't receive it, that is not about you, that is about
it's
them.
about them. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's a really, really good way to look at life. I
Mhm.
think a lot of people are maybe not there yet.
No,
There's a lot
I
of
don't
low
think it's like,
self-esteem.
I don't think that's really taught that that's allowed, which is weird.
It's not, because it's parents and teachers who are not being authentically who they are,
With
who are
themselves.
teaching children,
Yeah.
right? Like I work with teenagers sometimes, and they'll maybe try pot or something and then go, oh my God, or go and drink at a young age or whatever, and go, oh, if my parents found out, they'd kill me. And I go, well, your parents probably did the same thing.
Yeah.
No, my parents never did anything like that. And I'm thinking, yeah, I remember when I was 9 and 10 and people started talking about sex. And I went, oh, my parents never did that. It's like, I think our parents are lying to us. And I'm not sure what the mindset is about that, because I talk to my kids about whatever. If they ask me something about my life, I tell them.
Hmm.
I'm not going to hold
Yeah.
it back, because I want them to know they can trust me.
I have a very similar relationship with my parents, but on the other hand, I've always been reserved with them.
Mm-hmm.
Like I will show, I'm not afraid to like hide anything,
Mm-hmm.
like party around them or like whatever. But if they ask me like kind of personal, stuff, like there's a lot of things that most people don't know about me, and like that's fine, because like I don't feel comfortable with you having that burden on you, that that about me, because like
Right.
I don't want you to worry or whatever.
Yeah, and
that's tumultuous situation.
That's a different thing altogether.
Yeah.
My son just got back from a European vacation, and he was in Greece when that cyclone
Oh,
hit.
yeah,
And
geez.
so he had, days without power, food, a couple of days without water. And so I was really worried. The beautiful thing was when he left the B&B and started driving down these roads to try and get to another town, he didn't tell me.
Mm.
And he didn't post anything until after, when he was safe and he had drinking water again, and then he posted. And
Yeah.
so I was really grateful for that.
Well, yeah, exactly. Like I've never been one to air out things, on like
Yeah.
the internet, or like like negative attention, or just any kind of concerning attention
Yeah.
has never been
Yeah.
a thing of mine. Like I remember growing up, like just some of my cousins, just little brats, like assholes, and I'm just sitting there, like I'm pretty much the same age, and I'm like, well, how are you acting like this?
Yeah.
You know?
And I think everybody comes to life from a different place, right? Their own perspective, based on how they were raised, sort of the values they were taught as
Mhm.
they were growing up, and what they feel comfortable with. And the greatest blessing I have is my children feel safe to talk to me about most things, um, and to be honest about most things. If I ask, they'll tell me the truth, whether
Yeah.
they really want to or not. They will, but they know they won't get judged for it.
Get judged or in trouble.
Or in trouble. Yeah, yeah. There's no
The
point.
worst thing they're gonna get is advice they don't want to hear, or something.
Yeah, and even that, I'm going to be a little bit reluctant on what I share, because the truth is, each of us has to arrive at our own understanding of life, right? What can I live with?
Yeah.
And for me to project my morals, my attitudes, my beliefs onto somebody else, um, that can't do any good. It can only do harm.
Of course. Yeah,
Yeah.
because they're not you.
They're not me,
Yeah.
right? We're all unique.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, what do you love most about life?
I don't know, they're making stuff.
Making stuff?
Like making something I just love about making music is that like it wasn't there before.
Yeah.
Like if I didn't open my computer and I don't like use samples. Like I don't do anything that's like that's
Yeah.
I draw inspiration from things for sure, but I just love the idea of like if I sit there for 4 hours and make a whole song, like that didn't exist before.
Exactly.
And it's like painting, and unless if you didn't put the first thing on the canvas or whatever,
Yeah.
like they wouldn't exist.
You wouldn't
and you
end
wouldn't
up
be able to
with-
look at it.
Exactly. Exactly.
I love that. Like I love, I mean, cooking is like
Cooking
one
is
of my
love.
is like my love language with like me and my girlfriend have like a very beautiful, like honest, loving relationship, and like we have our troubles like anyone else, but there's just something about like we just understand each other, and we're like okay with who each other is.
I think that's how my husband and I got to 21 years, because I've been married 5 times.
Jesus.
Jesus.
Poor guys.
but it's funny that Pierre even wanted to marry me, knowing that.
I don't think that's fine.
Yeah, but it's like, we have a respect for each other, that we do things differently. We annoy each other sometimes, but again, there's a depth of understanding and love that, I process things really fast, really quick. He does things very slow and methodical.
I'm very the same with in my relationship too.
Yeah, but it's like when you can accept that the other person is a little bit different than you, they don't have to be the same, then you can see where you can push and where you need to hold back.
Yeah.
Where you allow space for that other person
That's something
to exist.
I feel like I struggle with sometimes, like allowing someone the space to, because I do process things really quick, and I'm usually kind of just like, let's hammer it out, And it's like some people they haven't even processed what's happened yet, and like that's where I need to like I tried my hardest and just to be accepting of that.
Yeah.
Because and it gets me in trouble sometimes, but
Me too. I get in trouble often for, especially with Pierre, because I'm getting better. I used to finish his sentences. Well, I probably still do sometimes.
I don't think that's a bad thing.
Well, he makes a joke and goes, "Yeah, I used to be able to hold a conversation, and then I met."
And then you met me.
And it's like he'll look at me and go, "I no longer know how to finish sentences because my wife usually does it for me."
funny.
So it's like, but coming to that place of going, like each one of us actually brings to the table something remarkable. And I think in relationship, my belief is that when we find a partner, that partner is kind of a mix, good and bad, of both of our parents. And so any issues we had with them or whatever will sort of be brought to the surface, but also the good that we got. And it's an opportunity to just kind of heal those old wounds,
No, you're
whatever
right.
they might be.
You're right.
Yeah.
I feel that too. Things come up sometimes, and I try to ignore them, but it's like just some things that just like make you want to rip your hair out or whatever. And I'm sure, and you know, it goes both ways.
It does.
You know?
It really
I
does.
have I have a bad temper sometimes, and
Yeah.
and it's not, you know, it's for some people it brings up like their parents screaming in the house, and like for same way with me, when I hear someone screaming, I just immediately just think of
Absolutely.
like fighting, or you know, like
Yeah.
the chaos that I was
Yeah. So,
surrounded by, you know, and kind of makes you just go into like fight or flight mode.
yeah, because it's a trigger.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I've learned to do in those moments, because I have them too, and especially because two of my husbands were very violent, so it's like coming to that place of going when things get like that, to just take a breath and go, I'm feeling something, and what I feel has nothing to do with anybody else.
Yeah.
So I'll ask myself, when have I felt this way before? And then look at that and go, am I ready to kind of, just love myself enough to move past that, because I'm not there anymore.
Yeah.
I'm in a new place. And I think that helps to change the rhythm of life that's happening, that's causing the discord.
Mm-hmm. I feel like I get hung up whenever anything like this happens. Is like I'm always like kind of give myself shit afterwards, and I'm like, it's like you should have been better to like not allow this to happen, because you could have just not, you know.
Yeah. So you're beating yourself up.
Like kind of just like you should have mind fucked the world, like mind fucked the situation, like working out for everyone.
And you know what? We can't be everything for everybody. We can only be everything for ourselves.
No, of course.
And so there's a song that I like to listen to by Karen Drecker called Gentle with Myself. And it's just that, I'm going to treat myself like I would treat a newborn baby child. And so even when I make a mistake, I'm going to pull back and go, how can I be gentle with me? Which I think is, for me, that was a big learning, because I still get, guilt and, I shouldn't have done that.
I deal with that a lot.
Yeah. And that's what causes anxiety. So then I have to pull myself back and go, okay, just a minute. Let me just put it in perspective. I made a mistake. Okay. I've made worse ones, guaranteed. Right?
Yeah.
I've been married 5 times. I've made worse mistakes.
Yeah.
So it's coming to that place of just being kind of tender with ourselves, the way we would treat somebody that we deeply love, or, a little child. You talked about, the children that you would get out of the way to make sure they were safe. So, you need to treat little Dave that way too.
Yeah, I think I used to be a lot nicer to myself than I am now.
Yeah.
But
well, you can go back. You can do it again.
yeah, I know.
Yeah. So we've got about a little over 5 minutes left.
Yeah.
And so what is one thing you would like to leave with our guests who watch the show? What one message, when you think about, we're living in tumultuous times, there's a lot of anxiety. What is one thing that you think might help people to deal with life right now?
I would try every fucking thing you can until you find something that you love, and then like hammer it to death.
Yeah.
And
do
like,
what you love.
Like, and don't be scared to go out there and like fuck it up and like fail.
Yeah.
Fail. If you fail at doing something you love, you're not gonna be like, oh, I can't keep doing that anymore, because the next day you're just going to keep going.
Yeah.
Because that's what you do. And like a lot of people don't know what they love.
Well, that's true, because they were probably told as little children, don't do that. That's bad. That's wrong. No,
Yeah.
that's too loud. This is, yeah, don't do this. Don't go there. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's part of it, is that we've gotten these messages over the years that we're not to do certain things or act in certain ways. We're not to be too loud. We're not to be angry. We're not to be too happy. And all of these messages have caused a lot of confusion.
Yeah.
But I think you're absolutely right. And that's what this show's about. Find out what you love and spend your life doing that. You will never, ever work a day
Yeah.
in your life.
And I find like learn as much as you can and try to get be the best that you can be. Don't try to be someone else at what you do, but
Yeah.
try to get like really good at doing what you love. You know, find your own little shortcuts to doing everything that makes it easy for you to like do whatever you do. And because
Yeah.
being good at something is worth it.
Oh, it is. And I find sometimes with people, when the thing that they're really good at, they discount as unimportant.
That's very true. And other people do too.
Yeah.
If you do something in 2 minutes that it takes someone a week to do, people are like, well, why should I pay you that much? It's like, because I spent 20 years learning how to do it in 2 minutes.
Thank you. That is really important information. I think really honoring the stuff that is easy for us, because it's easy for us doesn't mean it's easy for somebody else.
No, it doesn't.
And so you're doing great music. I don't do great music. But what we do have in common is the language we use to talk about life, right? That idea of that we can overcome, that we can change direction, that we can learn that even though times are difficult, we can bring love into the mix, which then changes everything.
Changes the dynamic, yeah.
It changes the dynamic. My brother, my brother's, a little bit younger than me.
Love is the answer. Look at that.
Love is the answer is my tattoo on my wrist. And I believe that. And when I think of love, what I'm thinking about is oneness. We're all in this universe together. And
Yeah.
we're all putting our little bit of consciousness into it. And whatever we put in is affecting all of it. So if we're putting crap in,
Yeah.
we're just pulling it down, and we're
Yeah.
creating chaos. If we don't like the way the world looks, what we need to do is infuse it with love. That's going to lift it. That's going to begin to change things. And I have a brother who works in the oil and gas industry in Alberta. And he's funny, big burly guy, tough guy, right? And he brings the love to his workplace. So from the day he started there, he decided, I'm bringing love. That's what I bring. And he hugs even the bosses. He hugs everybody. He goes, hey, I love you, man, like to everybody who's there. And I just kind of chuckle, because he's the last guy on earth you would ever expect to talk that way. And if he takes a day or two off, people notice.
Yeah.
Because the love is missing.
Yeah.
And he had a funny situation at a gas station once, where he left his car running while he was fueling. It's very cold in Alberta. And so he had just forgotten to shut it off. And he's fueling. A guy comes in and starts cursing, swearing at him because he hasn't shut his car off. And he's got a young kid in the back, right? And Perry's looking at this kid who's terrified because his dad is losing his shit. And Perry doesn't say anything. If the guy had asked nicely, he would have turned the car off immediately. But because he's being a jerk, he didn't bother. And when he finished fueling up and he goes to get in his car, he looks at the guy and he goes, I love you, man. Gets in his car and drives away. I'm sure the guy was livid after that.
Yeah.
But, it's like he was looking at this kid going, I could lose it on this guy. But that kid is terrified.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to go there. I think if we take a moment to think about what we're doing next, we have the option to do something great.
Yeah. For
Thanks, David.
Thank you.
You are
so much.
awesome.
No, you too.
I love this. You've been watching The Joy Show. I'm Barbara Jean. This is David Mooney, and we are so excited to share his music, his project, Badlook. And so check it out on Spotify and Apple Music, and any place you find good music, you will find it there. Thanks for watching, and until next time, bye for now.
Cheers.